I want to come back to this conversation because it's I've got it in my notes, and it's one of the most interesting things that I felt like I'm really hooked on it. But just to finish off on your background, so basically, because the other day I got a chance to interview someone called Dr. Patrick Bowen, who is a scholar, independent scholar on Islamic conversion and immigration into the USA. I didn't
Yes,
know
I'm aware
how.
of him, and he has actually contributed some very important research on the earliest Muslims in the United States and how Islam started
Yes,
to spread in the U.S. at all.
I think he's a really good scholar,
Yeah.
researcher, and an amazing guy. And I think, yeah, I wish him really well. I think he's like um, a really good asset to have from an academic point of view. Um, so, yeah, so I didn't realize how relatively recent the interaction is with Islam in the USA. In my mind, I thought um, Islam kind of got introduced to USA back from when early days, because Europe was already familiar, had interactions with Islam, whether that was in Spain or Sicily or Turkey or these places. So I thought that would have transferred to the USA and it would be like a natural kind of a transition. But I was surprised to know how recent it is, but also how few Muslims there are in the USA because we look at media and we see Islam and we see people like yourself, Hamza Yusuf. But I didn't realize firstly, how relatively recent the whole Islamic interaction is in the USA, but also how few Muslims there are in the USA. So, how in your conversion back in the 70s, how did you find that? Like, did people look at you um, thinking, is this like a hippie thing? What the hell is going on? Or
Well, some of my hippie friends said, well, that's one of the most conservative traditions that if you're choosing, if you're doing that. But more importantly, my family, they were all right with it because they weren't religious. And they would say, oh, no, he's on an Islam kick. So he's on the Islam kick now. And then when I persisted at it, they said, well, that's an improvement at least. And so, they thought it was an improvement because it made me, uh, go back to my family, that is, my parents and my brothers, and cultivate the relations with them again that I'd been abandoning previously. So they thought that was okay. But on the other hand, um, they continued to have typical non-Muslim Western attitudes about some of the aspects of Islam. So if they, put pork in our food by mistake, then, oh, haha, sorry, that was a mistake or something like that. I mean, it seemed like they were not very caring about the limits of our religion. But
Mhm.
they tried to be positive about it, and they liked some aspects of it. Um, and my father, when he was dying of cancer, did embrace Islam at the end of his life in
Oh,
1999. He took the Shahada, so at
oh,
least that was something. And I told him, Dad, I want you to be a Muslim. And he said, well, I think about it. And then the next day, he did that. And he said, he really did that. And so, um, I had some interactions like that were good, and other people never mistreated me for it. And then here in Philadelphia, for example, where I'd already been a Muslim for a long time, and where by the time I came here in 1990, that was 17 years later. So Islam had grown and become more visible in the States in the meantime. And like going to the Foreign Policy Research Institute, which is kind of a nest of neocons that I was invited to go to by a person to see what was going on. And there was someone arguing, a conservative professor, about the danger of American Muslims. So I stood up and argued with him. Instead of treating me like a Muslim would be treated, perhaps, that was, someone who of Near Eastern or South Asian appearance, they tried to persuade me of their opinion, of their point of view. Another time, I was invited with my Lebanese colleague, blessed memory Mahmoud Ayub, to the Union League, which is also a very hoity-toity, conservative thing where the elite of the city are members and have lunch downtown in this old, very attractive building. And this was after some incident, maybe it was after September 11th or something sometime. And someone who was a member of the Union League, who was also my colleague at Temple, got the invitation for us to go there. So we went there and each of us made a presentation. And after it, some of these guys who were judges and attorneys and doctors and so on, some of them said, "Oh, I really liked what you said, but I didn't care for what Dr. Ayub was saying." And actually, we were saying the same thing. So that was really funny.
I think that's true, and I think that's why um, converts are able to cut deeper into like cross cultures and relate to local people more than any foreigner or immigrant would be able to do. So it is a benefit and also maybe an extra responsibility as well. I
Yes,
remember, because yeah,
well, I do give the Friday khutbas. I've given Friday khutbas at Masjid Mecca near Temple for um, over 30 years, and I've given the Shahada to more than 100 persons, and so I worked on that, and may Allah guide people. That's all.
hey there. I hope you're enjoying this episode. Let me just take a moment to introduce our sponsors for today. This episode is kindly being sponsored by the Worldwide Listings Company Limited, or WLC for short. WLC is a complete A to Z Amazon account management service. So if you're looking to start an e-commerce business or you already have a business that you want to take to the next level, then get in touch and WLC will be able to help. Just for transparency purposes, let me also mention that WLC is a company that I personally created and am a director of. So when you get in touch with WLC, you will be speaking with directly myself or my team, and we very much look forward to speaking with you to see how we can serve your needs. Thank you. And with that said, let's get back to the episode. My mother-in-law, because my wife is a convert as well, my mother-in-law, before she passed away, may Allah forgive her, before she passed away, she converted to Islam, which was like a huge blessing and really kind of an honor for us. But so while she was like ill, I emailed all her family members to inform her then what's like that what her decision is, so that if God forbid the worst happens, then people don't think that we're just making things up. So we can kind of inform everyone in their lifetime, in her lifetime, and everyone was fine. They were saying, yeah, that's fine. And then when she passed away, we were preparing her burial according to the Muslim rites in the Muslim cemetery. And then there was a big like pull, kind of a resistance from some family members saying, "What are you doing? She's a Catholic. She needs to be buried in a Catholic graveyard." And we were saying, "No, remember we emailed you. She converted to Islam." And they said, "Yes, but she's still a Catholic."
Well, there you have the identity problem.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
it's identitarianism.